Alright guys, welcome back to Tech Tanks. This video is going to be setting up a LAMP server. For those of you who are not familiar with what a LAMP server is, LAMP is an acronym for Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. Now the MySQL can be a substitute Alpha Maria database, but we're going to be using MySQL today. Also, just to add a little extra to this, we're going to be adding in WordPress as well, just to kind of give you an idea of how to set up a application with your Apache web server as well. So what I have here is a fresh installation of Ubuntu, and let me go ahead and just sign right in here. Okay. Just a moment. There we go. Okay, so like I said, this is a fresh installation, so let me just go through some of this real quick. Okay, done. All right. Now, for my own personal preference, I'm going to go ahead and just switch something here real quick. Okay. Now, real quick, as a kind of just a quick 1-2 introduction here. So, for those of you who are not overly familiar, this is Ubuntu. It is a Linux distro. Probably one of the more popular ones from my experience. Most people that I know that have Linux run Ubuntu, and I think it's because it has a lot of GUI interface with it, but we're going to be spending most of our time on the command line today. So with the command line, we're going to install everything we need. We're going to configure things. We're going to get everything set up, and then we're going to hop on our web browser and kind of take a look at the overall result of our work. So first thing we're going to go ahead and do is pull up a terminal. And okay, never mind. The first thing we're going to, I guess the second thing we're going to do is install our updates. Like I said, brand new installation. So, all right, I'm going to make this uber biggie size for you guys. All right, and there we go. Should be easy to see now. Okay. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go to our var directory. Reason being is part of what we're going to install. I mean, there's two ways to verify it. Check the etc directory, find configuration files, things like that. And sometimes it'll make directories, somewhere else. So first thing we're going to be doing is installing Apache. Now, what I do want to double check, I am not the root user on this system. It's usually not a good idea to be in the root account, just as an FYI. But we're going to go ahead and actually check, make sure that I have the root privileges that I need. I should, but just want to always double check that. It helps if you type in your password correctly. There we go. Yep. Okay, so right here, we run the following commands, all. So we're good. Okay. So again, right here, I want you to just kind of see what we have here. Notice it ends with temp, that sort of thing. So we're going to start off with sudo apt install Apache 2, which is currently the latest Apache release. Yeah, let's get that one going. Yep. Okay, and then go run through. It takes a few seconds here. Alright, and there's two ways you can verify that it did install. Number one, notice we don't end with the temp directory anymore. We have a www. And then another one, in which we can check etc and grep for Apache 2, and it's there. Cool. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and install the My Sql Server. So, we're going to be seeing these three words a few more times here. Actually, just one more time. Anyway, My Sql Server. Again, you can substitute out for Maria database. Works just as well. So, sorry, swig of the coffee. Okay, and okay. Now, real quick on this. So the reason why this is such a common setup, the LAMP server, if you're getting into, websites and things like that, if you're getting into cybersecurity, you're going to find that LAMP servers are pretty common because everything's free. Okay, Apache, you can download it free. It runs for free. All the mods for it. My SQL database, PHP, and Linux, depending on the Linux, but most Linux distros are free. These are all something that you can implement at home. It's pretty easy. You can run them on a virtual machine. I'm currently running this on VMware. So this is it's a nice way to be able to get into, making your own little website, things like that. And again, I'll show you kind of how this is. This one will not be a public-facing website or web application. This is just going to remain on the local host, but it wouldn't be that hard to make it public-facing as well. All right, so we downloaded our My Sql Server. I'm going to go ahead and download a few things we're going to need here. So we're going to do sudo apt install. Oh man, I cannot type. Okay, so we are going to need, first of all, PHP, part of the LAMP, and then to allow Apache to communicate with PHP correctly and all that, we need to download the mod for PHP, and then of course there's a MySQL download for PHP as well. So we're going to go ahead and just knock out all those. They only take a moment, very small. All right, and then after this, I'm going to go ahead and download WordPress. If you're not going to be doing the WordPress part with me, then by all means you can skip this part. But this is really nice to have. WordPress comes up a lot in like Hack the Box and the PWK course. So this was, a good way to set it up in your lab. Now with WordPress, I'm going to be downloading the latest. So let me go ahead and go to the www directory. I'll explain why later, but we're going to do wget. And the website is https //wordpress.org/latest.tar.gz. Okay, now real quick, for those of you again not familiar with Linux, you're seeing this a lot. Because I'm not the root user, you will find that if we look at this directory, sorry, let me do this again. If we look at this directory, which is this one right here, it is owned by the root user. Okay. Same with the previous directory, the directory right here, and then this file. It's all owned by root. Now the problem with that is I'm obviously not the root user. I'm the cipher user. So using the command sudo or sudo tomato whatever, it allows me to do things like the administrator would, and that was what I checked at the beginning when I looked at the commands that I could do. Notice it says all. That means I have total access as long as I use the sudo command. Now there are limitations to that access, but that's outside of the scope of this video. So, all right, looking at this, we do have our tar.gz file here. We need to unpack this. We need to, kind of get everything out. So we would do that by doing, again, I gotta use sudo. If you're the root user, you don't need to worry about it. Tar xzvf. Okay. Yes, it is relatively important that they're in this order. So just FYI. But one thing that helps, if you double tab, it'll kind of show you the different options, but it doesn't tell you exactly what each one is for. You have to use the help command for that one. But anyway, so we got this. We're going to go ahead and just spit it all out. And if we check our directories again, we now have a WordPress directory. We no longer need the tar file, so I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of it. Okay. And then if we go to WordPress, you'll see there's a lot of stuff in there. So there we go. All right, we have everything downloaded. Everything is installed. Now it's time to, kind of start configuring. Now I'm going to go ahead and just go to the home directory, simply because I like to kind of get to a base point where I'm going to start doing things. I'm going to go ahead and run the MySQL secure installation. Part of what I'm going to be going over in this video is a generic method of giving your server a better security posture. I say generic because this is not going to be like a this is how you secure your server every time without fail. It really depends on what you're offering. I'm not going to have FTP available on this server, so obviously I'm not going to have that port open. Things like that. So you really have to determine what it is you're going to be doing and configure it accordingly. But if you're just looking for kind of a generalized way to, to get started on the securing process, most of this will work for you. So anyway, we're going to start off with the secure installation. This is a really cool installation method that SQL has, or setup method. So it's going to take you through some prompts so you can answer yes or no according to what your preference is. I'm pretty much going to answer yes on everything. So this one is validating the password. This feature makes it to where you can choose the password complexity level, things like that, and MySQL will make sure that any password will match that. So I'm going to go ahead, absolutely, I'm going to set that up. I'm going to set it for strong. And it tells you right next to each one what it's going to enforce. And then I'm going to make my uber awesome secret password. Now it does also offer, I don't know if I typed that in right, it does also offer a kind of a measurement of how awesome your password is. So mine's going to score 100. So there you go. All right, do I wish to continue with the password? Yes. My SQL Server automatically comes with a anonymous user. This, I view it like having a guest account on your Microsoft system. There are very, very, very few reasons why you'd want to have that, so absolutely remove them. I don't want root to log in remotely. Just a quick little FYI for you. If you are going to be managing your server through an SSH connection, that is not impacted by this remote login for MySQL. This is talking about someone actually outside of the local host connecting into the MySQL directly. SSH is connecting to the system and then it is accessing MySQL. So by just allowing root login, you can still do it through SSH. Okay. I am going to remove the database named test because I don't need it. And I want to reload the privileges tables. This will just make it to where everything takes into effect now. So cool, we're installed. I'm actually not done with the MySQL database though. I'm going to alter the configuration file to do two things. I want to check and make sure that the bind address is set to the local host, but I'm also going to disable the data info because I don't use that for this database, so I don't want it available. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and pull that up. Now, there's one thing I actually do need to install. This is my own personal preference, Vim. I love Vim. It is the coolest text editor. And this version is Ubuntu, and maybe it's Ubuntu as a whole. I don't know. I'm more of a Parrot and Kali guy, but it didn't come with Vim. It just has Vi, and I don't like Vi. So, all right. So I'm going to Vim the etc mysql.conf d mysql d cnf. Pretty sure that's it. Yep. Okay, cool. So we're going to go ahead and edit this file. All right. Now there's two things that I'm checking for. The first one is the bind address. Okay. 127.0.0.1. Perfect. That's what I want. I'm going to go ahead and also go under the MySQL D section. And what I'm going to insert here is just to disable the load data in file. And that's going to just be local in file equals 0. That should be good. All right. Cool. Oops. All right. So all set with that part. Now what I'm going to do is actually set up the database that I'm going to be using for WordPress. So I'm going to do this with MySQL. Okay. So if you're not familiar with MySQL syntax and commands, Google's going to be your friend. But if you're just setting up kind of the same thing I'm doing, this is actually going to be pretty easy. Create database, and you need the name of your database. I'm going to just call it WordPress_DB. Easy stuff. Okay. We're going to end every command with the semicolon. If you forget your semicolon, press enter. It's not the end of the world. You just need to add a semicolon and then press enter again. Okay, and I'll show you that on the next one. Because now we're going to create a user. I'm going to call mine webmaster, and he is at the local host. If you are not going to be managing the SQL database from the local host, you will want to set up the appropriate address accordingly, whether it's your IP address or domain name, whatever the case may be. Okay. Identified by. Then I'm going to go ahead and just add in kind of a ridiculous password here. This is a really long password. I like this password. I don't know why. Okay. So there we go. Hopefully I typed it in correctly. It looks like I did. All right. Yep. We're good. So I'm going to go ahead and press enter. I did forget my semicolon. I told you guys I was going to do that for you, just so you were kind of aware. I don't want you to get freaked out if this is something you're not accustomed to. So just add it in, press enter, and suddenly we're good again. Okay. And the last thing I'm going to do is grant all privileges. And you can specify privileges if you want, but I'm going to just go ahead for this setup. I'm going to do all privileges to the WordPress DB. Keep in mind, WordPress DB is the database itself. It is not the tables and all of that associated with it. So I need to tell MySQL to allow access to whatever. Okay, and again, you can specify. All right, and then I'm going to give it to webmaster at localhost. Whoops. All right, and then should be good. Cool. So we're going to go ahead and flush privileges, which it just kind of resets everything. Or not resets, but kind of refreshes everything to make sure everything that we've done kind of goes into effect. All right, MySQL is done. What we're going to do now is go ahead and work on our PHP file, or our PHP configurations. So to do that, what we need to do is pull up the configuration file that's loaded. Okay, and so we're going to. There we go. We're going to run php --ini, and then we're going to grep loaded configuration file. Okay, what this does is it'll show us the directory where our configuration file is. Well, it shows us the directory path for our configuration file. So I'm going to go ahead and edit this php 7 c php. Whoops, we'll just do that. Cool. All right. Whole lot of stuff here. So what we're going to do to just make life a little bit easier, so we're going to be shutting off certain things to kind of prevent it from releasing too much information on about our system and things like that. None of these on their own are going to be actually there is one that's like pretty huge for securing it, but some of these are just more along the lines of it just makes it a little bit harder to get information, and information is key when it comes to the security of your system. You want to give out as little information as possible about your setup. So that's why we're going to be doing this, and I'll show you where it'll explain where each part is. It's not hard to find, but that way if you're not familiar with what we're doing, you'll be able to kind of read up on it real quick. So the first thing we're going to do is search for expose PHP. Okay, and then right above this, it'll actually tell you decides whether PHP may expose the fact that it is installed on the server. Now it does also recognize it is no security threat in any way, but it makes it possible to determine whether you use PHP on your server or not. Giving it away in itself is not a security threat, but it definitely isn't helping your position, if that makes sense. So, I'm willing to kind of take whatever I can to kind of help, secure my system a little bit better. Oh, snap. That's not good. There we go. Whew. Okay. All right, we're good now. Sorry about that. I thought I pressed ESC. Apparently I didn't. You gotta love that when all of a sudden you just randomly start typing stuff in. Actually, what we're gonna do though, I need a little space here. This is gonna drive me bonkers. Not there. There, actually. Okay, I'm sorry. All right, moving on. Now we're gonna go ahead and look for display error. So this is one of my favorite things when I've hacked like when I've done Hack the Box with like different like web applications and things like that, and you can get an error where it provides so much information. I'm going to shut off, well, it's already shut off, but always want to shut off how much error or information is displayed when you have an error, okay? Then we're going to do mail.addX. Okay, that one's already off. Perfect. Then we're going to go to disable functions. That's the one we want. All right, this one, guys, is pretty big. Again, Hack the Box, PWK. PHP it's a really fun way to get into a system. I've actually hacked on Hack the Box. Yeah, I think it was Hack the Box. Maybe it was both. But anyway, it was a WordPress web application, actually. And I loaded a PHP file. And from that PHP file, I had system execution privileges. Like I could execute commands onto the actual system itself. I was able to pull the Etsy password file, all that fun stuff. So yeah, I'm going to be blocking show source, system, shell exec, pass through. And again, you can Google each one of these if you don't know what they are. Some of them are going to be pretty obvious. I'm sure you can figure out what shell exec is. If not, that one actually allows you to get a shell going onto the system. So almost done here. Just one more. Okay. But this just blocks these functions from being able to go through. So that's all we're working on there. Okay. And then we're going to allow URL. Okay, yep, that one's also on, so I'm going to shut that off. Okay. And then allow URL include, already off. Perfect. Okay, whew, that was a lot. Now we're done. All right. Before I do forget, actually, this is actually the one I typically do forget. I want to make sure that the firewall is set to allow port 80, not 800, 90, 80. And of course that one could change depending on what it is you're running. You know, if you're wanting to run it on a different port, you know, whatever your situation is, just make sure you set it up to where it does allow that traffic. If it's going to be inbound and outbound, just put allow. Otherwise, you know, configure accordingly. Okay. So now we got that part done. This part is for the WordPress. So if you are not going to be running WordPress, you can skip this section and just kind of go to where you're wanting to head. You know, the next part, the Apache configuration. But WordPress, I really like the fact they actually offer a config sample file. We're going to take advantage of that here, and we're going to do a couple things. One, I like to always hold on to that just in case I need to quickly alter something, you know, kind of go back to the default. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to copy that file. Just do that. And I'm going to copy it into wp-config.php. That's going to be the one that we're going to be running, or at least I am. So then we're going to go into this, and hopefully you took notes on your database username, password, database name, that kind of stuff, because you're going to need it here. So let's see here. So the database name that I put in was WordPress_DB. Oh boy, DB. My username is webmaster. And last but certainly not least, our password. Now, unfortunately, this is, you know, plain text, so keep that part in mind. Definitely more reason to, you know, make sure your system is really in good shape here. So this is a really long password. Cool. All right. Localhost, fantastic. UTF-8, good, good. All right. Now the next part we're going to work on here is actually right here. So delete all these. Anything that says like define right here. And then we're going to go to this website. Oops. So we're going to copy the link. And yeah, you can open it from there. I just habit forming. Okay, I'll close that. Launch this. Alright. Now you may have a bit of a hard time seeing this on my screen, but hopefully you're following along. This is going to be like your salts and key data and stuff like that that are used for authenticating to WordPress. Now, this is pretty cool. I like that WordPress does this. I hit refresh and I got whole new data. I hit refresh, I got whole new data. And it's just, I can do that as many times as I want. Really cool. So you're going to just copy all of that. You're going to go back into here. You're going to put that in. That's it. Pretty darn easy. Now, I do want to just kind of highlight this part. You can change these at any point. If you have a public-facing server, you can change it at any point to invalidate all existing cookies. So it forces people to log in again. So, cool stuff. I like that. So I can come in like a week later and just kind of refresh it, force everybody to log in again. Okay. Alright, so we got WordPress set up. At least I have WordPress set up. Cool. Alright, now the last thing we're going to go ahead and do, we're actually going to edit some configuration files for Apache. And to do that, we got to go to the Etsy, and I mean, you don't have to necessarily go there, but I'm going to, Etsy Apache 2. Okay, now the reason why I'm going here is I want to show you, we're going to be editing this. That's going to be the last thing we edit though, because I want to show you kind of a visual on why we're doing some of these things. Currently, we're going to go into the sites available. Okay, and now if we go here, these are currently the sites that, well, are available. Okay, so this is the default. So just to kind of show you what the default is, if we go back here and go to localhost, boom, Apache Ubuntu default page. Cool. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get rid of that. All right, now I got a habit of leaving default configuration files available, but then again, I don't ever publicly face one of these, so I usually set these up for labs or whatever the case may be. So you can delete it or kind of whatever. I'm going to go ahead and just move sudo move the 0, and I'm going to just put that to the old.conf. It's nice to have it around just in case. Never know. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and make a new one. I'm going to just call this one WordPress.conf. Call it whatever you want, but if you are hosting a website, you probably should call this whatever your website's name is going to be. Okay, so like Facebook, we call it facebook.conf, so on and so forth. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. All right, now what we're setting up here is we're just kind of setting the default information, such as the server name, where you'll find, like where your server can find this directory and things like that. Okay, so first thing we need to open it up with, this is setting it up as a virtual host. Now a virtual host allows you to basically host multiple websites from one server. Okay, so this one's going to be connected to port 80. Yeah, so there we go. So we're going to go ahead and server name, I'm going to just call this one, sorry, WordPress. Actually, I'm going to just call it WP lamp. I'm going to just call it that for this sake. Server alias is going to be www.wplamp. Then we're going to do the server admin. This is where I get the webmaster from. This is kind of the default. I like it. Sounds cool. Okay. Then we're going to do document root or www WordPress. Now this could obviously be different depending on what it is you are setting up. So since I'm setting up WordPress, I went ahead and put that there. Error logs are important. Okay, now I like to just kind of keep the default Apache error log location. So I'm going to just do Apache log dir and error, oops, .log. And then the custom log. Same place, but this one is going to be access.log, and we're going to just do combined. Just kind of put it all in together. Cool. Virtual host. There we go. Boom. Okay, that is all done. Now the cool thing is, we're pretty much done just with the generalization of it without like configuring Apache to be any further secure. Last thing we need to do is just A2 and site, and then whatever your conf file is called, just do that minus the conf. So in my case, WordPress.conf, I put WordPress. It's going to tell you got to restart it. No problem. Okay, I'm going to show you a couple errors that tend to come up, but first, let's take a look and see if this worked. Okay, and we have WordPress. This is the initial installation of it, so yayer, sure, we'll use that. Email is going to be fakeatfake.com. Cool. I would not recommend having anything memorize your password, but for the sake of this, I'm going to. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and log in with it, and we can verify that that part works. Sweet. And then we're going to go ahead and open up a new one and just go to localhost. Sweet. All right, my WordPress is up and running and ready to go. Now, here's one thing though that I want to point out, and this is going to do a couple things. One, it will show you what I mean by by default, a lot of information tends to be released. I'll just put random_page. And notice this is an error, it's not found. Apache 2.4.4.1, Ubuntu server localhost port 80. Now the localhost part, like the IP address, is irrelevant, or the domain name, because it's not that big of a deal. It's either way, it's easy to get. However, this part, that's a lot of information you're releasing. If I'm trying to get into your system, I'm going to look up, all right, I know that you're running Apache 2.4.4.1, or I'm sorry, 2.4.41. And it's like, all right, what are some vulnerabilities? What are some of the weaknesses of that server? You're running Ubuntu. Cool, I know that too. So I like to make sure that this information is not released. So let's come back over here real quick. And this is where we are going to update the Apache 2 configuration file. Okay. Now, there is a error that I'm going to show you with this, only because it came up a couple times when I was helping somebody else with this a while back ago, and it's like, oh, it was interesting. We learned something new. It's a very simple solution, but boy, it can cause a lot of headache at times if you're not prepared for it. All right, so I went down to the bottom of the file. It just kind of helps me keep things organized a little bit better. And I'm going to add in a few configurations here. So first of all, like server tokens, switch that to prod. Server signature, yeah, that's off. Up. Then we're going to do options, all, indexes. And then we're going to do a header, unset, tag, and you can Google these if you need to know specifically what they do, but I'd actually just recommend doing them all. X powered, oh man, that was bad. By, and then last but certainly not least, definitely the most error prone apparently, tag, none. Okay. Now, first, error time. We updated something in the Apache configurations. We need to reload it. So we're going to do systemctl restart Apache 2 service. Uh-oh, we got a problem. Okay, you can read through these, but I will say that with Apache, they offer something really cool here. I like this, and I'll run this before I try to restart it and all that, but well, I want to show you that. So Apache 2 CTL, and It is a config test. Now notice it says that the syntax error on line 231 of the etc Apache 2 Apache conf file, that's the one that we edited right here, okay? There's an error there. There's an invalid command header. Well, header is a valid command, but with Apache, you need to enable the headers mod. Okay, so once again, okay, that time it went off without a hitch. Now if we do our config test, yes, it's still spitting out an error right here, but first of all, fully qualified domain name. Okay, I don't have a DNS running on this, so clearly it's not going to be able to do that. This is the part we want to actually focus on though, is syntax is okay. Cool. Then we're good to go. It is updated, so check out what happens now. Okay, we have all this information showing. Now it's gone. Okay, it is not all of a sudden that your system is absolutely secure. It's just an additional feature, okay, or an additional precaution, I should say. The ability to just kind of mask yourself a little bit more, as much as possible. Okay, it's all about the releasing of information. With that being said, we have a LAMP server up and running. Okay, we activated we installed and also implemented our My Sql database. In this case, I used it for a WordPress database. I connected that over to my WordPress configuration file, along with the salts and key variables and all that for login purposes. We did go ahead and block some of the things for PHP from being able to execute. And we set up our Apache server to connect over to the WordPress directory, as well as be able to block out some of that releasing too much information, basically. So guys, with that being said, I'm done with this video. I hope it was helpful for you. Keep your eye out for additional videos to come on setting up different servers or labs or hacking stuff, whatever it is that we're looking to make a video on at that time. Catch you guys later.